ancient Japanese warfare explodes in America. It's the ultimate martial arts adventure. No one can survive. The Revenge of the Ninja. Revenge of the Ninja, a Golan Globus production from the Cannon Group.
This is Hollywood. You know, in Hollywood, when you have a movie that makes money, you want to make a sequel. Revenge of the Ninja came out. MGM took it for distribution. The people in Cannon were so happy that finally MGM, major studio, took one of their movies to major distribution. And it did pretty well in the theaters. In New York City, it was for 1 week at the top of the list of the grossing. But it did like good money, good numbers all over the country. And they sold it good internationally. So obviously, immediately they wanted to do a sequel. Now, I was not part of the business doing of Cannon. I was not part of this. So I got one day a call, come to talk with Menachem Golan. I come to talk with him. And he says, we want to do a sequel. Something happened between them and Sho Kosugi, which I don't know. You know, they were involved in business also, Sho Kosugi and Cannon, making movies. But I don't know what. So he reveals to me his idea, Menachem Golan, reveals to me his idea. We want to make another sequel, but not with Sho Kosugi being the hero this time. I don't know. I never asked why, and I don't know the answer. I have some speculation. And then Menachem Golan said, why don't we have a female, a heroine, instead of a hero this time? There was no idea, nothing. It was only a meeting. There was nothing yet. Let's make a sequel. So, wow, it was pretty exciting, interesting, challenging. Yeah, why not? I never asked why not Sho Kosugi. Maybe I didn't feel. I felt that it's not my business to get there. Anyway, good challenge, and they hired the same writer, Jim Silk, that wrote Revenge of the Ninja, to write this sequel, Ninja 3: The Domination. Sho had a deputy, let's say, a second to Joe. Amiel, also martial artist.
Ninja! I told you I was ready to talk! Ah!
Well, before every movie, we were, once we had the script in hand, we knew exactly where the action's going to be, and we needed to do the choreography, to think about the action sequences and how an action sequence will lead to a fight or vice versa. So we did a lot of rehearsal, choreography and rehearsal to make sure that we look good. So that was in between movies. Every movie we did that. Then Ninja 3 came about. We're not happy that Sho is not the star, that Lucinda is the star. But because we had an agreement with Menachem at the time to make the movie, the third one, and more movies down the line, it took some convincing. Sho and me got the first draft of the script. We didn't care about it at all. We said no. Menachem insists. I met with him several times over the script, told him about the objection that Sho had as far as staying close to the original Ninja concept. And he was looking at it from a different point of view. At the time, the two Ninja were released, the first and the second one, and he made so much money, so he allowed himself to gamble on this one. And as a producer, I could understand the other side to it by removing the leverage from Sho as the main star and try to create, counter to Sho leverage. So as a producer, I could understand that. Our objection, and mainly Sho's objection, I'm a lot more flexible than Sho on that level, that he wanted to be as original as possible. So it took a lot of back and forth till we finally decided to go ahead with it. When Sam got into, he knew nothing about the whole concept. He'd seen the first movie, Enter the Ninja, and he was selected to direct the second movie. He really knew nothing about this. On the other hand, we martial artists that really in love with the concept of martial art and study the history of it, and me as a kid studying the old Japan history with the shoguns and how did they create the ninja warriors, what was their participation. So I was really amazed by this kind of super warrior. And I knew quite a lot about it. I practiced weapons and done a lot of stuff. And when we made the first movie and second movie, it was combining a lot of skills, not necessarily skills that are typically for Japan martial art, like Taekwondo and so on, Shotokan and all that. So it's combining a lot of weapons, a lot of ability to survive under different conditions, the ability to take a lot of pain and still continue to be there, the knowledge of medicine, spying, extreme secrecy, and loyalty. You know, there was really the superhero at the time. So the whole concept really was amazing. And we tried to keep it as close as possible to reality, given the fact that we're making a movie, but as close as possible, you know, weapon-wise, and as much as possible to reflect the reality at the time. So Ninja 3 was not that.
After I did Grease 2, I was like, I want to be Michelle Pfeiffer. I don't want to just be a dancer, a principal dancer. Not that there was anything wrong with that. And I love dancing. I didn't quit dancing, but I wanted to be the star. So I started taking cold reading workshops. I didn't take it was a cold reading workshop. It was a lot more about fun, playing around. You know, this is the early 80s. And, you know, I don't know how much I learned in that. But from that, I, you know, got an agent, and I had a commercial agent, but I got a theatrical agent. And they started sending me out on auditions. And I literally had gone out for a year and a half, and I never got a call back for any kind of acting role. So Ninja 3 comes up, I go in, and I have to read the scene with the casting director of one of the possession scenes of, you know, the girl getting possessed by the evil ninja. And I'm kind of like, we never did that in class. You know, how do you do that? But I just did my best, did the audition. And I had actually just gone to a dance audition the week before, and I was hired as a flash dancer for a private party in Des Moines, Iowa. Very wealthy guy hired a bunch of LA talent. They had the Venice Chainsaw Juggler. I don't know if you ever knew of him. There were break dancers that were hired. And this is, of course, the flash dance era. I actually auditioned for flash dance, didn't get it, obviously. But I was hired to be the flash dancer. So I do the ninja audition. I go to Des Moines, Iowa, do this party, which really, you know, it wasn't anything. I mean, they didn't pour water on me. It was nothing like that. You know, it was just in like this kind of sexy leotard. And when a flash dance song came on, I danced and, you know, entertained people. And it was weird and wild and fun. And then I thought, well, I'll go see my family in Kansas. And it was there that I got a call back. But it was like Thursday morning at 9 a.m. And I'm like, Thursday morning at 9 a.m. a callback. So I fly home Wednesday, the day before, go in for the callback, and they had 3 or 4 different guys. I imagine Jordan Bennett was one of them. I actually don't remember. And I was auditioning some of the scenes. They were looking for chemistry. And so I thought that was interesting. There weren't any other girls there. It was just me that I know of. There might have been, later in the day. And I think it was either that afternoon or Friday morning, they called and said, you got the part. I knew nothing about the script. I knew nothing about canon other than it was there that I did the audition. I met Menachem and Yoram was there, and they had me do the scene, a couple of different scenes with all these different guys. And I literally packed up and flew to Phoenix on Monday, 3 days later. And Jordan, was there. They throw me right into, wardrobe to, fit me for ninja costumes and, my Christie lineswoman, costumes. And I still hadn't read a script. I still didn't really know what it was. And I had to start doing the martial arts training with Alan and Steve and whoever. And of course, I got my hands on a script and I read it. And Jordan took me to see Revenge of the Ninja because it was still playing in theaters. So we go to some little theater in Phoenix, and I'm watching it, and I was just going, "Oh my God."
Yeah, was there quite did you go, okay, Ninja 3, this is a third movie. What are the other 2? And then
No.
Well, we had problems with the script. Some of the writing was pretty questionable. So I would sometimes go and work up some yellow pages and rewrite the scene. And then I'd show them to Shmulik and he'd go, yeah, try it. So I have no writing credit, but I did rewrite some of those scenes, particularly the ones with her and I.
Jordan was one of the first people I met when I landed, but he was just the nicest guy. I mean, when I met him, I was sort of surprised because I had auditioned with so many other guys and he was kind of short. I was like, oh, I was thinking I was going to get this great big cop, but he was so friendly, and I didn't even know what his experience was, but I knew it was probably more than what I had. And he kind of took me under his wing, and, he sort of helped me out and helped me with the scenes. And, he was just a good guy. We went running every morning. He made me start running, which I had never done before, because he liked jogging. So every morning we'd get up extra early and we'd take a run downtown through some park. I don't know Phoenix that well. This was 1983, so I really don't remember. And, so we did that almost every day before our call time. And we just became friends. We were good friends. And, he was my person to hang out with. We had scenes together, and, when we weren't having scenes together, we were always there, so we just became friends.
I did do a couple of ride-alongs with the Phoenix Police Department before I started filming. That was really cool. And I had 2 separate guys. I had an older cop, very jaded, been on the force a long time. And I remember we went to this really seedy bar, right? And we walk into the bar, it's full. And everybody, I'm in civilian clothes and he's dressed in his officer's uniform. And they all turn around and look at us, not in a friendly way. And he just casually goes up to the bar and starts talking to the bartender with his eyes away from the room, and everybody is staring at me. And I'm like, oh. So nothing fazed this guy. It's really interesting, right? So then I went out the next time with a really young new cop, and he just wanted to show me a good time. We went speeding along to these different traffic stops, and then he would go, well, that guy's a drug dealer. I know that guy's a drug dealer. And then he would go on his computer and show me that guy's a drug dealer. Look, he's been arrested 4 times. And so then he'd get out and do an interview with him, and I'd be standing next to him. All that was fun. I mean, he just wanted to show me stuff. And then he got a call on the radio that there was a break-in somewhere, and like 7 cars descend on it, and he goes over the curb going like 50 miles an hour. It's like, whoa. So that was kind of interesting. That was good preparation.
You know, usually it's action, good guys, villain, protagonist, antagonist. The basic story, usually either you choose a revenge story or you choose, but we didn't know where to go with this. Now, Sho Kosugi, meantime, he was involved. Of course, he was involved in this whole process. So he wasn't kicked out of the process. They wanted him to be involved. But when he found out, so maybe Menachem Golan did not tell him, or I don't know. He found out through us, Jim Silk and me, that he's not going to be the hero. And a woman. So he was against this idea, obviously for many reasons. Number one, career-wise, I guess. And the second, he came back to us and said, he was against the idea that a woman will be leading a ninja movie. And his reasoning was that a woman that doesn't have enough physical power to do what it requires from a ninja. Now, you know, through my ninja education, ninjutsu ninja education, I learned earlier from the Sho Kosugi that the ninja television shows were kind of popular in Japan only. And in the Hong Kong movies, ninja appeared once in a while, usually as bad guys, not the main villain, but the bad guys, groups, singles, groups. And even Sho Kosugi showed me once a movie which there was a band of female bad ninjas that were causing harms, and they were hired by the bad guys to help them to cause even more havoc, more problems. So this ninja female is not totally strange to the ninjutsu saga, to the ninjutsu world. So there was something about ninjutsu female. But anyway, so it's not completely out of the question. And then Sho Kosugi kind of vetoed the idea, really vetoed. He said, if it's a female, I'm not doing the movie. But understandably, Jim Silk and myself, now we have to resolve the conflict and the problem that we faced also. Where are we going with this story? And one day, probably, I think it was my idea, if I remember correctly, I was very influenced by Poltergeist at the time. And Exorcist, The Exorcist was the first horror movie I saw in my life. And the most impressive. I was so impressed by The Exorcist. I never seen a horror movie. In Israel, horror movies were not popular. The first one, somebody took me, Exorcist. Everybody was talking about Exorcist. And a friend recommended, let's go see. I didn't even know that I'm going to see a horror movie.
Well, if you never saw a horror movie, that must have blown your mind.
Totally.
I bet. I mean, it must have scared the crap out of you.
Right out there.
I was so scared.
I bet.
So I was under the influence of those two movies, and I like Poltergeist later. So suddenly one day it clicked. I said, "Wow, she's not a ninja. She's possessed by a spirit of a ninja." I introduced it to Jim Silk. He loved it. We loved the idea. We didn't have to go with this idea to the top to Menachem Golan. As long as we resolved the problem, we presented it to Sho Kosugi. She's not a ninja. She's going to be possessed by a ninja. And while she's possessed, she has the power. When she's not possessed, there are waves. At some point she's possessed, and at some point, just like The Exorcist, just like Linda Blair, same thing. And then she doesn't have the power when she's the regular human, but when she's possessed, she has the power. He bought the idea. This was acceptable. This idea was acceptable.
When I first got the script on the Domination, I read through it, and I read some of the scenes, like the scenes when she was in her apartment with all the voodoo stuff and all that stuff. I read through it, but I didn't realize what it was all about. Like, when you're a stuntman, when you're a stunt coordinator, you're only looking through the action. You're only reading the action, right? So that's where 75% of your thoughts are, right? So I kind of breezed through that, right? So when we started the movie, you know, Shmulik and I talked about every scene. We sat down, we'd always have meetings on all the action sequences, the reasons and the whys. So when we got to, you know, that sequence with her changing over and everything floating, all that, and Shmulik started to explain it to me, right? It was then and only then I looked at Shmulik and I thought inside my head, this is horrible. It's gonna be horrible. You know, in my head, I'm not telling him this. Now we talk about it and I tell him and he knows what my thinking was. But I'm thinking, you know, what are you, nuts, Shmulik? Yeah, you know, this is a ninja picture. What are you putting, you know, all this voodoo stuff, you know, into it, you know? And I couldn't understand it. And I was disappointed, you know, gonna ruin the movie. And then when we got to film it, I felt worse. And I was angry because now I'm visualizing all this. And I'm thinking, this looks silly. This looks more than silly. It looks more than comical. And I couldn't comprehend it.
In fact, the truth is that even after doing that and then going into doing Breakin' 2, it wasn't until, I don't know, 10 years ago when they did the kind of documentary on Canon. When I watched that, I sat there going, I had no idea. I never did any research on them. I didn't know what other stuff they'd done. I was so naive. I was so in my own little lane of, you know, Lucinda Dickey lane that I was just like, this is unbelievable. Yeah.
We just had to make everything up. Everyone was making everything up. And like, I think I told you, I had all these policemen and I couldn't afford police uniforms. So I went to the, you know, Ace Hardware somewhere and got a bunch of blue Dickies and got somebody to make some patches and then sewed them on. You know, got some ties and or whatever they were and just, okay, that's good. That looks like a cop, you know. And bring your own black shoes and bring your own, there was a lot of that. And bring your own white t-shirts and, you know, all those kind of films you just have to have, you have to have 5 of everything or 6. So it's not like you just pick something out, a one-of-a-kind thing. You have to be able to make 5 more of them and different sizes and put them on different people and they, you know. So by the time I got to the second one, I was a lot more experienced with, you know, making things and night with my sewing machine or trying to make them more interesting, let's say, instead of just a black ninja or something.
The costume in Ninja 3 is so much more elaborate than the Revenge ones. I was wondering if you could talk about that maybe just a little bit, because it's, first of all, it's very iconic. And the fans seem to love that costume more than any other costume. They make action figures out of it.
Yeah, I wanted to do something. I was so tired of black ninjas, you know, and I think everybody was happy to have something else more interesting or whatever. And it was a woman, like more street, like kind of camouflage, because the ninjas wouldn't always just be black, you know, and I wanted to make it just more interesting. And so I worked on that quite a bit. And I liked the way it came out. And then years later, I've looked at some stuff online and there were other people in it. Chuck Norris was in it and somebody else was in it too.
As usual, we start with a big action sequence. So we start with the evil ninja, the one that will become the spirit later. Big action. He dies. He's transfer his spirit into the body of Lucinda, and now she's carrying the evil deeds. Which in our case, it's a revenge. The ninja has to revenge 5 or 7 policemen who killed him, Captain killed him. simple story, revenge story, with love story. Of course, we need love story. Now, to justify a little bit why she needs some background to be able to perform all the ninja great maneuvers. So she's a instructor. She's a dance instructor. She's aerobic instructor. So we'll justify where she's having already the agility and the power to do what the spirit is requiring her body to do. So here comes the element. And Flashdance, the movie Flashdance. Also, I was very influenced by Flashdance. I love the movie Flashdance. So it went into. So now we have 3 movies into our story: Poltergeist, Exorcist, and Flashdance. Everything is inside together, and then we bring the big savior Sho Kosugi, the big Sho, the real fighter. And we bring him in to resolve this problem, to resolve this complex problem.
He is the most feared and powerful warrior. A ninja who breaks from ancient tradition and explodes onto America. His soul possesses the body of an innocent woman and transforms her into a lethal assassin. Who are you? I want to help her. Only a ninja can destroy a ninja. Her only hope is Yamada, the master ninja, who has been sent to destroy him. Where Revenge of the Ninja left off, Ninja 3 begins. An epic struggle of superhuman strength and supernatural forces. Ninja 3, the Domination.
I love that about how sort of the evil ninja, David Chung's character, there wasn't very much information. He just showed up and he was just like angry, upset, evil and possessed, and let loose on a golf course and then possessed Linda Dickey. And it's like, where'd this guy come from?
There is a little reasoning. He was on a mission to kill one of them, not all of them. He was in a mission to kill a banker or something. I don't remember. But he came specifically like in a mission. But that's not important. Really, that's not important. Because we start action movies with a bang, with a big action. Whatever the reason can be very mundane, very stupid, you know. It doesn't matter. And I'm sure that there were more reasoning and more ideas that we had to cut out in the editing room. As usual, it was 2 hours. We came to the editing room, we had 2 hours, more than 2 hours. And we started to cut and chop and whatever. Yeah, but there was some reason for him, but not a big, nothing to do with the feud with Sho Kosugi, with the families, no. It has some, like he was hired to kill somebody, but it doesn't come across. The important thing is that the 5 cops are killing him. You're absolutely right. And in Revenge of the Ninja also, there is a strings of killing in the beginning that you don't really know why.
Sam is just such a good soul. Yeah, you know, at the beginning, it always confused me. I had gotten upset on the set so many times, and I would look at him and he would say, "Oh, it's okay, Steve, don't worry, everything will be okay, take it easy," you know, and he would be the guy, he would calm you down, you know. I you know, because I'm such a hyper guy, and I knew that we needed things. I mean, we had such a small budget with such great fantasies, dreams that we wanted in the films that, you know, because of the money, there was no way we could have. So, you know, I was forced to do a lot of, almost all of it myself in certain situations. Play this guy, play that guy, play this guy. So, you know, I was so wound up at times getting things done. I mean, I had wardrobe on the set with a wardrobe rack with, you know, 15 different outfits every day, you know.
Really, he's brave and very capable. You know, there is a scene in the cemetery that Lucinda runs and climbs a tree before she takes the arrow. So she just run, and with one hand she hold it. She does. Steve was for her. With one hand he holds a branch, and in one beautiful move he climbs up to the top of with one hand to the top of the tree. So he's capable. He's very agile and trained. He trains every day, and he did a lot. So besides coming up with great ideas, and my instructions to Steve was always, and by then he already knew me. I said, Steve, you can dream whatever you want. Don't worry about any budgetary or production limitation. Maybe we will not be able to execute what we are dreaming, but please, for our sake, for the movie, for me as a director, you come to me with the craziest, most grandiose ideas that you have in mind, and I will tell you if we can do it, or I or David, the producer, will tell you if we can do it with money. But let me fight the budget. Let me fight the production. You don't have to fight the production. Come up with the craziest ideas that you can, and we'll see how we can fit it into the budget.
Most of it was a money situation. Secondary was the challenge. And that, because of the money situation, I'm happy that the challenge was second, because the challenge always overlooked and overruled the money situation. Meaning, I'm glad I didn't have any money because it forced me to do the thing. And I was always so worried that it wouldn't be right. You know, and once you set a standard and you have things to give, to present to a movie, you don't want anything less. And you try other people, you know, like in Ninja 3 Domination, I tried to use a female, but it just wasn't powerful enough. And Sam Firstenberg and the producers would come up to me, no, we need to put you in the suit because you look better. You know, I tried 2 or 3 girls, like at the graveyard situation. I tried a different girl there, but she just wasn't powerful enough on screen. And then in another situation, I tried a girl. Same thing happened, you know? So it was just more understanding to everybody. And everybody, you know, since we did Revenge of the Ninja, Sam Firstenberg and the producers were used to me being in a suit all the time. Well, this is a different situation. It's a girl. Well, Steve, you look like a girl. Your body looks like a girl.
First of all, Alan almost primarily trained me. 100%. Like, he was the one that I spent hours with in the beginning to learn the fight moves and the fight scenes. And because Steve was doubling me, he was involved too. But I wasn't necessarily trained by Steve. Steve was one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
She is really a wonderful gal, and she's very smart, very talented. And when I say talented, you know, she had that physical ability.
I remember working with him. He was sweet. And, you know, I joked that, like, Alan, in the scenes that he doubles me, he was a big guy. And all of a sudden my back is this wide and I'm, you know, like, but when Steve did, because he was, you know, he was way taller than me, but he was thin, and, like, you know, that's him climbing up the telephone pole. I mean, like, well, at least I look a little bit more like a girl, you know.
I really felt head over heels with her. I liked her a lot, and I respected her, and we had a good time. But her talents and her personality, it was great. And you know, I always say, you know, you give me an athletic woman, I'll fall for her 1,000%.
I think the most contact I had with him and a little disagreement was, you know, remember the sports car kind of goes through a light and crashes up against the curb? I said, Steve, you should do that. I mean, I can drive, but I'm certainly not a stunt driver at all. He goes, why don't you do it, and then I'll pick it up in the close-up. He goes, no, you can do it. You really? You want me to do it? All right. No, I don't have to do multiple shots, and I don't have to get into costume. You can do it.
We built friendship and confidence in Revenge of the Ninja, Steve Lambert and myself. I knew by then that he's brave, he's imaginative, he can create really good, interesting stuff on the screen. And following my rule, you open the movie like with 5 to 7 minutes, let's say 7 minutes of action. That's how you open the movie. Bang, this is the credit card. So the people who come to the theater, they know what kind of movie they are about to see. Listen, was not invented by me. All big action movies, they start with a big action sequence. So I wanted like 7 minutes of action.
Sam, visually, he understood everything I put together. Sam understood how to piece it on film together. The lenses, he understood lenses, he understood angles, he understood directing, because there are, obviously the action that I put together, he has to direct it. So between him being the director, understanding all that, between me putting what I needed to put together and give him, and our cinematographer and our star, we had a foursome. And our producer, David Wolmar, he was part of the team. His gift was letting us do what we needed to do. He had experiences producing already. So he knew what he wanted and what he needed. So he went above beyond, because there were many times where he said no, or he would say yes. And depending on the yes or no, it would be a huge battle. And it would be progressive, a slow progressive, when it came to our producers, because the quicker I was able to put it out, to give it to him and to do it, the more I got. So the chemistry between all of us was just wonderful.
And I was telling you about going into the production office where all the Israeli crew that were running the show were like crazy, screaming and yelling and swearing, and half of it I couldn't understand what they were saying, and it was scary in there, and then you went out and just like wanted to ask a question or get some petty cash, and they were just there just yelling, and then look at again in your trailer. I'm sure you can find something that you can make into whatever you need. Oh, so true, so true. And then you'd go out and Sam would be, hi, are the ninjas ready? Let's do this. He is patient and funny and knowledgeable, and I don't know how you don't like him. And he's so enthusiastic. He brings the enthusiasm of 10 people. So then you're like all enthusiastic too. And, he knows how to keep the enthusiasm going so they keep going, because films can stop on a dime, and then that's really costly. And so he was great. He was really great. He still is great.
Of course, the opening sequence was less of a ninja, less of a martial art, but more of a regular action. So we called regular action. So of course, he took a more prominent part than Sho Kosugi in this particular section. And he had to bring expert. So there is this little sequence of 2 motorcycles. I see these two guys, and one of them, I didn't know at the moment yet, Cannibal. One of them came to me with Steve and said, okay, here we are going to roll the motorcycle. How do you want me to roll the motorcycle? I looked at him like, whoa, can I order from a menu how to roll? He said, yes. I can roll it head on. I can skid and roll it sidewise. I can slide it over. I said, wow. And Steve told me this is Knievel, Robbie Knievel, the son of Evil Knievel. That's how it was introduced to me. And we decided that he will roll the motorcycle sidewise, 3 rolls or something, I think, if I remember correctly. And he just did it perfectly. He's an expert on motorcycle stunt. Any motorcycle idea that you have, jump it into the water, roll it, whatever you need on a motorcycle, Robbie Knievel is an expert. I already mentioned that Steve is very imaginative and brave. He's really brave, even for a stuntman, I must say. Or maybe we were young and stupid, I don't know. But he's brave. So a lot of the stunts that you see in this sequence, Steve Lambert performs them.
Sho sometimes is very, very stubborn on issues, and the fact that he was not the star, that the story was around Lucinda and not him, he didn't like it. He didn't like the fact that a woman will play a ninja. He didn't like all the special effect of that was not part of the ninja mystery. So he didn't like all of that. So it was a lot of work to let's do it anyway. Let's break away from canon. That's one of the reasons that we broke away from canon after that movie, beside of the financial reason. He met Lucinda the first time, welcomed her, but nothing more than that. He never really cared for her, let's put it plainly. He never really cared. But we need to work with this girl.
There was a lot of tension on the ninja set altogether. Sho Kosugi was not very happy about me. I know more about it now than I knew at the time. I didn't understand why he was not very kind to me. He wouldn't do scenes with me. He would, on the few scenes that we did have together, he would have already done his part when I show up, and I'm like, okay, so I read my lines with a script girl. We do have a few fight scenes together that were real. And I felt like if I forgot my choreography, he might just chop my head off, because he just wasn't very, very friendly. And like I said, I know more about the story now, but at the time I was just like, wow, I just got cast. I mean, I didn't know any of the inner workings, but I see how that was a threat. And the storyline wise, we made changes. We changed the ending. He wanted it to end on a different note.
I don't know if she told you everything about that, and I don't know if it's up to me to tell some things that went on with that, but did they tell you that at some point Lucinda became a non-person to him? He refused to talk to her? Yeah, and they didn't shoot scenes together anymore after a certain time.
Whatever he had to do, Sho Kosugi, he said, he delegated it to Ellen. He said, talk with Ellen. Don't talk directly with me. He's my secretary. He's my deputy. He's my second. So he left everything that had to be done with Lucinda, because in his mind, as I told before, a woman cannot be a ninja. A woman doesn't have the forces or the power or the force or the muscles to be a ninja. So she will, from this point on, she will have to deal with Steve Lambert and with Ellen Amiel, not with me. I'm here only to do acting, but he was involved in choreographing as well. But so was Ellen, so was Steve Lambert. Choreographing the fight. But when he was involved, he choreographed the fights.
Because I knew the choreography of the fight, I knew her part. We had to train her. I had to train her quite a lot throughout the shoot. I did most of the fighting for her, with the exception of close-up and all that stuff. But the tension was there throughout the movie. We never went to dinner together, we never talked and all that stuff. And slowly the movie started building like two groups of, the actors, let's put it this way. Sho and me were on one side, the rest of them were there, so the tension was there throughout.
I think with Lucinda too, it was she didn't seem like she was enjoying it as much as she should or could. And I think that was from Sho, and she had a lot of good scenes and a lot of, you know, she struggled. You know, a lot of times actresses are really nice, and they just are like, whatever, it means whatever, do it. And she felt to me like she was doing a really good job, but that she wasn't maybe getting enough accolades for that, for Sho.
Like, he never said anything to me. Like, it was never, I was not his enemy. He was mad at them. But because of that, he just ignored me. It was like, I mean, there was just not much. He did what he needed to do, and then left. He was just not present. And other than, you know, the stuff that was really important to him. And he was amazing, and he brought in amazing people, you know, the fighters. I mean, it was, you know, phenomenal. But, you know, at the time, I just didn't understand any of that. You know, I was just fighting for me, doing the best job that I could do with the material that I had. You know, Canon has a way of changing scenes and lines and script and everything daily, hourly, you know. I learned by the time I got to break in, you know, yeah, don't waste too much time memorizing the whole scene because they're going to change it. And the next morning you get all these pink pages, and then you get purple pages later, and then you get the green ones. And, you know, so you just kind of learn to just do it as you go. And, you know, it's just the way they worked. It's the way it happened.
The only one that was actually scary for me was when she brings the sword down close to my head. And this was an interaction I had with Sho, because she just does the long shot where she's lifting up the sword and start to bring it down. And then Sho is the one that brings it right next to my face, right? And I said, are we gonna, you know, rehearse this? You go, I got it. Wait, you're not even gonna show me what you're gonna do with the... No. So he just, in one take, he just went and came that close, and it was like, the terror on my face there is kind of real.
Wow. I bet.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
It's like, no big deal. Yeah. How close do you want it? How fast do you want it? Yeah. Okay. Fine.
And you already know this guy's a little disgruntled and angry.
That's right. Wait, how disgruntled are you at this point?
Yeah.
Your beef is not with me, right? It's not with me. Good.
Yeah. It totally feels like the apple on your head situation.
Yeah.
He was very good with weapon, very good with the various, all kind of weapon. He was very good, Sho Kosugi, with the chain, with the sickle, with the do. He threw shurikens right into the, you know, with the target, and he always hit the target. He was excellent with weapon.
How did that work with him and Mikio Sanke and like the prop guys?
Okay, the Mikio came, he was part of the Sho Kosugi crew. He was not part of the movie. He was not a prop guy from the movie. I told you, Sho Kosugi has an entourage. Sho was like a big sensei, like a big king walking around with his entourage all the time. Entourage walking with him. Most of them were his students, but Mikio he was part of the deal. You know, they do live demonstrations.
Sho Kosugi was a performer at Magic Mountain, Valencia, California, live shows. And when somebody does live shows, I'm impressed because you got to fool the audience. So right away, I'm impressed. A lot of guys don't understand that, but if you can fool people in live shows, if you do a live show for a living, that's good for the movies because you know you're learning some angles and you're hearing what's going on.
So I believe that Mikio was with him when they do this live demonstration. They don't use real swords. They have to do exactly what we do. They used to use aluminum swords, rubber swords, so accidents will not happen in the middle of those stage shows. So maybe Mikio was with him way back when they used to do those demonstrations. The only thing I can say that he was very good. Not only stationary weapon, but mechanical with springs and things jumping out. He did all of this. He was very good with putting springs inside, and like the blade is springing out of the staff. All of this he built.
What advantages or possible disadvantages do you think you had as a dancer coming in instead of being a fighter or a martial artist?
Well, the disadvantage was that the technique, the stances, I had just never done that. I'd never done really a roundhouse kick. Like, it was just different. So the training for me was initially just getting me down into that big fighting stance and holding it and holding it and holding it and becoming strong and learning all the kicks. There was so much that I could do. I did so many of those scenes, and then they would duplicate them with the stunt double or with Steve Lambert or with Alan. I mean, and I would get so frustrated, like I can do this, but there was some of it obviously not. They weren't going to let me jump out of a tree and get injured. Even the cemetery scene, there was a roundhouse kick, and they had some girl double me for that. And, it was off a little trampoline. I'm like, you guys, I'm a gymnast. I can do that.
Yeah, you watch like breaking, and you're doing back handsprings, and I don't know what you call it, like cartwheel without any hands.
But like I said, I don't think they really knew my ability when I did ninja. Like, I don't think they knew that I really could do it. I mean, obviously, I could show on set, but it just was what it was. So the aerobics class, I don't remember, but I kind of think that I probably choreographed the aerobics part because I took aerobics classes. They wanted the flash dance kind of, that running thing, sorry, I'm jiggling my camera. So we threw that stuff in. They, Canon, they were pretty famous for stealing from other films, so there was definitely some flash dance stuff in there. But including that they permed my hair so that I looked a little more like Jennifer Beals when I did ninja. So I have very straight, well, actually I have really curly hair, but I always blow it out straight. But yeah, they permed my hair because they wanted me to have that Jennifer Beals look. So yeah, it was just kind of, to me, that scene was just really ridiculous. And to have a cop fall on the floor that he can't handle it, I'm like, come on. They should be pretty fit, right? So that scene, I'm pretty sure Alan must have choreographed that. And it was, I had a hard time fake fighting, because for me, if I wasn't making contact, I was like, this isn't going to look real. And these guys were big guys, and they're like, you can hit us, we can take it. But that was a pretty intense scene. And it felt pretty real, picking up the bar, swinging it. One of the guys, and I don't remember which one, but when they go flying off, into the wall, one of them either broke or sprained their ankle. Like he couldn't get up and walk out of there. So I was kind of like, whew, yeah.
Did she tell you how the VHs thing came about?
I think that was Jordan's idea. I'm going to throw him under the bus on that one. I believe that was one of our, props. They always, have, that for advertising. So I believe it was there. And I think he came up with the idea that, oh, it would be kind of cool.
It was definitely me. But Shmulik and somebody else was asking if she'd do any kind of nudity, and she said absolutely not. So then I came up with kinky, and I went to the crafts table, and there was VHs there. I said, let's do something with this. What? Well, let's just try it.
We had a lot of arguments over that one too. I was the continuity queen because I would remember the way everything was. And every time we do a take, I'm like, that cup wasn't there. It was over there. Or, and it drove me nuts. And so when we first did that, and I'm sitting on him and it went all over. And then I, arch down to the floor and carry on. So then when we cut to the floor, Sam was like, it was too much V8 juice. So I have just like a little dribble. And I'm like, it's not going to match, So, and he's like, it's not about the V8 juice. That's what he would always tell me. It's not about the cup. It's not about the V8 juice. It's not about the whatever it was that I was arguing with him on.
He's wrong. It's all about the V8 juice.
Yeah.
It's all about the V8.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Somebody told me if you just Google V8 juice, that scene comes up. So I did it, and it does.
Oh, that's so great.
There's no bigger form of advertising for V8 than that scene, and I think they owe you.
I think
royalties.
they owe me 10% on everything.
Yeah, from that day forward up
life.
until yeah, I agree.
I should be getting free V8 juice for life for that, I think.
And my mother still believes, she's not with us anymore, but she always told everybody that the scene where I take off my shirt, I do have on my underpants. My mother would never accept that I would do that. And so she told everybody, that's a body double, that's not her. Like, that was me.
And then we need some motivation for the Sho Kosugi, why he's coming to resolve the problem, because there is a flashback. He had a problem that goes way back, some feud between him and the dead ninja. And this whole flashback that they did without me, Steve and Sho Kosugi, they went to Sedona. It was not even in Salt Lake City. They went one day to Sedona, and this was all, they did everything. We get a lot of questions about it. The internet there is a buzz about this sequence. Right now, it's only as a flashback. It was much more bigger. It was a bigger sequence, and much more elaborate, and more story points. Because historically, Sho Kosugi has a feud with David Chang, with the evil ninja. Stems from the past in Japan, where they killed his father. So there was a sequence. It was not a huge story point, but there was a story point that exposition that explained it. It was not necessarily flashback in the script. I don't remember. Maybe it was not a flashback, but it was an exposition scene. But we ended up, when we cut the movie, again, there was a rule, 95 minutes. We couldn't go over 95 minutes in the canon rule. So we cut it down. I don't know at what point it was decided that we cut it down to a flashback, this whole sequence to a flashback. Many people are asking, where is the sequence? And believe me, some people have reached already MGM. There is no canon. Everything belongs to MGM. This movie, this particular movie belongs to MGM. And people have gone pretty high. Even Michael Duffy has some connection in MGM, and other people. And people were looking for it. They couldn't find this. All the outtake, not only this particular sequence.
We did shoot the scene, and guys, I have to admit, I don't remember much. We did shoot the scene there. Obviously, in editing, it didn't make it for rating purpose. I think that was the main reason why it didn't stay as a backflash to show Kosugi background. Yeah, but that patch had a lot of mercury in it, and also the uniform that he had. And he got terrible poison from it. It got worse as we were shooting the movie. Toward the end, his whole body was had a rash everywhere in his body, a bad one. But to his credit, I said that Sho recouped from any medical things very, very fast. I never seen somebody recoup, throughout all the fighting that we did. From time to time, you get a cut here and a cut there. But his recoupment was so fast, it's unbelievable. Had the movie continue another, I would say, 2-3 days, we'll have to close the movie because he won't be able to continue.
The scene in my warehouse, loft, apartment, whatever you want to call that thing, they locked down everything in the room that, wasn't supposed to move. And they literally lifted the whole set like this. So all the loose pieces, including me, was a loose piece, fell into the closet. That's how they did that scene, to look like I got sucked into the closet. That was intense. I was bruised from head to toe. We did multiple takes of that. The things that fell, that hit me, hit my thighs, hit my chest, hit my back, my arms, it was quite intense. Why do they let me do those things?
Yeah, exactly.
Throwing things at your flying objects.
Yeah. You can't do the gymnast stuff, but we're gonna
the gymnast stuff that I would actually be safe doing. I can.
Like Breaking 2, he likes to flip sets around. Flip the whole thing around with shrimp just crawling up the walls. He likes to pick up sets and throw them around.
This was in a warehouse in Phoenix, but it was the same idea, but it wasn't. That was the actual room that the whole thing turned around. So this one was just like
a dump truck.
It was a dump truck, yeah, and it just did the set.
No.
There is a history. I didn't know there are collectors of those machines. They don't exist anymore, and they're not popular anymore. So there are collectors, there are museums of those machines. And this particular game was tried but never came out. I learned later, not long ago, somebody contacted me about it's part of the collection. They need this machine in the collection and where they can find one. And they told me that this game never came out in a massive, it was never massively distributed or produced. So it was tried. People remember it from the time. They tried and limited the number, but the company, whoever was the company, decided not to go out with it. So it became an exotic for a collector. It became an exotic item, the bouncer.
Was it like a conscious decision as you're rolling along to make it like as contemporary at the time as the 80s? Or were you like, I want to make this as loud as 80s as possible, combine it with ninja elements? Or was it just, we need to work with what we have and see what we can do?
Just because she was an aerobics teacher, so there was all that fun stuff to do. But, she had some costumes like that I didn't ever have to do. There was never a woman at before that. So it was just, and there's only so many places you can shop in Phoenix, Arizona in the 1980s. So you gotta go 1980s. And you have to ask people like extras and stuff to come dressed. And, there's that thing going on too. But it was fun. I enjoyed doing that film. It was hard. It was very hard.
It didn't go down with Sho until later in the film. As I recall, it happened after the scene with the Exorcist, James Hahn scene. Yeah, because she was supposed to open her mouth and speak Japanese. Of course, she doesn't speak Japanese. So she asked Sho of some things to say, or how to say the things they wanted her to say. And he said, it doesn't matter. He basically said, it doesn't matter. Just open your mouth and words will come out. You don't have to lip sync them. And that really annoyed her. And I think that was the start of it, that whole James Hahn scene.
remember in the first movie, which is Revenge of the Ninja, he was the top honcho. He called the shot. He choreographed the fights. He supplied all the ninja weapon, the martial art weapon. He was very, very involved, very enthusiastic. He felt that he was part of the creating team, the group which are creating the movie. Here, because of the dispute, and again, I don't know what happened in the back rooms. I don't know how many arguments he had with Golan, or screaming or shouting. I don't know what was the background. So he came now, this time Ninja 3 Domination, not so much as the part of the creative team. He said, I'm here to do my job. This was the attitude. I'm here to do my job. I will do my job. And whatever needed, I will help if you're asking me. But he was not initiating unless it had to do with him, like the fight in the ruin house, in the construction, and the final fight, etc. So he was very involved. Listen, the whole situation was a little bit, from what I remember, was a little bit tense, because we are here surrounded by all martial artists. You know, we have Sho Kosugi, Steven Lambert. Sho Kosugi comes with his 6 or 7 followers, students. You know, everybody. Those are heavy duty martial artists. Amiel, who else was there? You know, shows people, and she's not a martial artist. Because one of the consideration in the casting was either we find a martial artist or a dancer, because dancer, they can teach her the moves. So it was for her a little bit tense that she was not a martial artist. We are surrounded with all those martial artists, and they're probably looking down at her, but she's not one of them.
Yeah, that whole possession scene, well, there were several, but the one, you know, with James was quite interesting. I had a lot of arguments over that scene too, because they made, you know, a plaster face and chest of me to create this doll. And I'm like, I'm a gymnast. I have twirled around a bar thousands and thousands of times, just, you know, but of course, again, you know, with the chains and the belt, you know, they wouldn't let me do the flipping.
So, yes, but I don't remember anything specific. Maybe we spoke about the scene probably, and I explained what we are expecting her to do and how do I see it. And no, so she got it and she did it. And Lucinda is a tough lady. She didn't, you know, she didn't back off, or she stood her place, and she did what she came with a good intention, with a willingness to work hard, and that's what she did. She came, she worked hard, and you know, on the set every time, makeup, a lot of physicals, you know, the wardrobe, the special wardrobe. They had to teach her the moves. For every section, they have to teach her the moves, and she has to come back, perform it. And no, she was tough and used her wisdom and streetwise, whatever it takes.
I loved doing that. It was really fun for me to go there. I don't know how else to say it. I was like, I have to really go there if I'm going to do this and get crazy. And I mean, they put the contact lenses in my eyes that weren't very comfortable, but you know, some of it is so silly. James Hong, one of the funniest things that he did when I'm chained up and, you know, the ninja has possessed me. He's, I can't remember what he had, a baton, something that he's waving, and he was saying under his breath, E.T. phone home. I mean, he just had such a funny sense of humor. I mean, I loved all of it. I loved the fight scenes. You know, I have this dark side that got to come out. You know, I always had the angel on one side and the devil on the other, you know. So it was really fun. I loved it. It probably was, in many, many ways, way more fun for me to do than even the break-in movies, because that was hard. Learning to break dance, I will do martial arts any day over learning to break dance was very, very difficult. Short amount of time, in 1 week, before we start shooting. Some of that was just very, very challenging for me, even though I'm a dancer and I should be able to pick up the choreography, but it was just very difficult.
Christy, no!
I actually had already started breaking and they had cut my hair off because they wanted me to look different. And so I had to wear a wig. We had to go back out to the desert and it was just a huge fight, just another big fight scene. I don't remember what the original ending had been, but I think that the original one, I was the one that killed the evil ninja because I had become a ninja-ish. It did change, and from some of the other interviews that I've watched, I know that there were scenes that were cut, backstory scenes, and the way Sam describes it, you got to get down to that 90 minutes. You can't put everything in, so. Yeah, it was interesting, but again, I always gravitated to the people that were positive and friendly and helped me, and that's what I focused on, and it got me through.
You started out your career wanting to do social dramas as a filmmaker, and I know that this film was, Makhaim Golan's idea to put a woman in the lead. I know you guys were just trying to do an action film. You weren't trying to make some big social statement at all. I get that. But again, it's kind of interesting that it kind of leaked into the material in a sense, because, during this time, the early 80s, 84, women were struggling for equality in the workplace. They began to kind of fight against sexual harassment, things they're still struggling with today, which is kind of the Me Too movement of the time, in a sense. And Lucinda Dickey in the film, I know that you put her in a job that's normally dominated by a man, climbing the telephone poles and stuff, just to show that she was strong and could be a ninja. But there's a lot of female empowerment themes in the film. She doesn't need a man to save her when the guys in the alleyway are fighting her. Everyone's just standing around watching, even the cops standing there watching. In fact, every man in the film needs somebody to save them from her, which I think is very interesting. It's all there. And I know that it's not all there, like you weren't trying to do that.
There are movies, stories, books, which are intentionally has a social subject, social undertone, or social message. And that's the way the book is written or the movie is made. But when we make this kind of movies, this is not what's on our mind, to promote this social idea or the other social idea, but it creeps in, exactly what you say, and many times it surfaces years later. And suddenly, even the creators of the movie, this kind of a movie that we don't intentionally put it in, we don't look for ways to make social statements or to highlight social problems or social issues, but it creeps in anyway. Maybe it comes through the writer a little bit, maybe it comes from the director, through the director, and sometimes years later or in the screening, and suddenly you see it and it's there. Many writers, they work from instinct, they work from inside, they don't deliberate on ideas, they just do it because it's part of their, instinctively they write it. And it's the job of the audience to interpret the piece of art, not the job of the creator to interpret it. Same goes for painting or whatever. So the same thing applies here. Of course, again, this is low budget action movies, but what you are saying, and later on in other movies, because we spoke about Riverbend, which is really, or Avenging Force, which really became, and sometimes it happens years later, the the idea, the social message inside of the social interpretation or the social commentary comes to light only years later, like in the case of Avenging Force. So you're probably right, all kind of influences from here and there, Flashdance, etc., the movement, the time, those things are seeping in. The actress, Lucinda, wanted to say something, to express something about it. So those things are seeping into even silly regular story. And this is a silly movie, you know, that's not definitely not a serious movie. Even when you talk about action,
The hell you think you're doing, huh? Huh? Let me off! Hold it!
one of the tricks, probably Sho Kosugi, was that the ninja has a blowgun and has a little dart, and the dart goes into the pistol, you know, one of the guys with the pistol, and he goes in and the entire pistol explodes. This was kind of far out crazy idea. You know, I hear from many people, either they write on the internet, I read reactions, or they write to me. So many people said, the minute I saw the gun exploding, I knew that this movie is for me.
It was great experience, really hard work. Well, and then, you know, when it was all done, I mean, you talk about a letdown, you know, it was like, it just sort of went quiet, you know, and waiting for Breaking 2 to come out, Ninja came out, you know, it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. It's amazing that people are still talking about it. It's, you know, it is a cult classic film, ninja film. Very proud of it. It's, you know, it was fun, but, you know, it was a wild time.
It's definitely turned into something. I mean, if there ever is like a Buds and Suds awesome 80s movie, it's Ninja 3. I mean, that's the pinnacle of what the definition of those movies are.
It's got everything in it, you know. It's batshit crazy, but it's so much fun. I mean, Quentin Tarantino loves it. I mean, he came out and said that. I mean, it's a huge compliment to Sam and, you know, everybody. I mean,
honestly, with my hand on my heart, we thought that those movies are dispensable. You know, people will see them, and within 3 years, nobody will remember them anymore. So that's why we didn't take care. I don't have any props. We didn't keep anything. We didn't keep the outtakes. Nobody took it seriously at the time. Not today either, but we didn't believe the longevity. We didn't believe the longevity. We couldn't project the longevity of those movies.
When the movie came out, I was embarrassed. I was hiding out, and so was Sam. We would never talk about it, right? And then Facebook came out, and then all these fan clubs came out, and then Sam and I would talk to each other, say, Sam, they really like the Domination.
There is a website that dedicated to Ninja 3, the Domination. Steven and Christy Robinson, a couple, husband and wife. They are very active. They have it's in Instagram and in Facebook. They have so much knowledge, and they are collectors of. They found stills from another sequence which is not in the movie. There was a sequence where Sho Kosugi was fighting some bad guys by the pool, and it was a good idea. He probably saw it also in a Hong Kong movie, and he was using towels, small towels, square towels to fight them, and flying the towels like a shuriken. It was beautiful, but it didn't end up in the movie. So there are stills in the internet. You will see there are enough stills from this fight sequence, which is not in the movie at all, not even flashback, nothing is left from this little fight.
And we would just talk about how awful, you know, I mean, he wouldn't say how awful, he would say it in a nicer way, but I would say, I was so direct, you know, I would say, yeah, you know, I thought that was going to ruin the movie, you know. I mean, I could see the transitions in the forest, in the fields, or the other transitions. I could see that, but this stuff taking it a bit too far. So when Facebook came out and all that, all the fan clubs, to this day, every now and then Shmulik and I talk to each other. Can you believe it? They like it.
In all honesty, I just wanted to know, is it true that only a ninja can destroy a ninja? Sorry, I had to say it.
It's just really a matter of realizing in each scene what you're trying to accomplish and what a police officer would be trying to accomplish in that scene. I think the first scene I'm doing, I'm trying to kill a ninja. So I tried to evoke what that would be like. I tried to feel what it would be like to kill somebody that won't die. Why don't you die?
Only a ninja can destroy a ninja.
I was wondering, was there a reason why you guys changed the famous line from only a ninja can stop a ninja to only a ninja can destroy a ninja? Did you change it in the third movie because she's possessed? And it's not much of a change, but it's a slight change,
This was Sho Kosugi's idea, He said, Lucinda, the character, not Lucinda, her character cannot kill a ninja because she's not trained. Only a ninja can kill a ninja. So this is the whole idea. He's coming from Japan to America to kill the ninja. And the spirit of this famous line, it comes from Sho Kosugi.
How was it working with Lucinda?
She was great. Although...
Come on, tell us. We want the dirt. Give us the dirt.
I remember it was Halloween, and I'm, as you can tell, I'm very sarcastic and very off the wall. And so we had a party, and I went as a overweight aerobic teacher in one of her outfits. So I took one of them and just patted myself all up and everything, and I don't think she thought it was funny.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so great.
I just remember her like.
Oh, that's so funny.
Why are you doing that?